Hey guys,
Hello.
Hello there.
well, we're gonna have a
Well,
spicy time tonight.
all I can say to the audience is you are in for a treat tonight because Nick is already wound up.
Yeah, we spent pretty much the entire pre-stream here just getting Nick wound up, and it's not like we had to work very hard for it tonight. He's ready to go.
I'm ready to go, guys. What are we talking about? Oh, crap. Reporting church leaders, but aren't husbands leaders?
I think we've said that a few
Uh,
times.
yeah.
Okay, so there's a hierarchy, right? Anyone want to talk about the hierarchy real quick, where we have leaders?
Yeah, we've talked about that.
Patriarchy is a leader-based hierarchy in which
Okay.
men are the leaders. Patriarch.
Sure.
Okay, so
And family church society?
yeah, there's a hierarchy there too. Hopefully, you have a man leading your church. If you don't, I have questions. And I'm not attending your church.
Yeah, okay. Even if you have a man leading, does it really matter, Nick?
Well, who really calls the shots in many of these churches that have a male pastor?
Uh, the ladies' auxiliary or his better half?
I was going to say his wife. Yeah.
His better half. Oh, happy wife, happy life.
Are we calling them better halves anymore? Are we still doing that?
Oh, dude, I did that, man. And I said the happy wife, happy life. I did all that bullshit. Oh, that's before the 8-minute mark. Oh, well, not like we expect to be monetized.
Ever. After my first divorce, I gave up on happy wife, happy life, and I gave up on better half. I don't call Elena that.
But my dad had a joke. Yes, my wife always gets I always get the last two words in. Yes, dear.
Sounds like
you guys have.
vomit.
It does. I say no a lot.
No. What's the magic word?
I get the last word in a lot. No, we're not doing that. No, you can't have that. No, stop. That's another one. Stop it.
Yeah, for me, that ended up me getting a hit. So it didn't work out so well. I said,
well, guys,
chill.
I didn't say
chill
this
out.
was going to work. Right?
Steve.
We lost Steve for a second.
Yeah. No, he's eating.
I'm eating.
Yeah, there you go.
Must be dinner time out on the plains.
It is. And it's 6 below zero here.
It's going to warm up next week for you.
Okay.
So yeah. So we've talked about several different themes in the past here. But they're going to come up again in this episode. We've talked about man bad. We've talked about the hierarchy. We talked about this particular aspect, quarrelsome church wives or church women. Oh, Steve has this article you can find on the Red Archive. Team Woman. We've mentioned Del Rock. We've mentioned Joel Webben here and there. I've used some Doug Wilson stuff. I actually met him a few times, had some conversations with him years ago. I was in the same denomination as he was, and I was an intern at an infamous church, and I walked away. In fact, the ex-wife is in the same. Oh, exhibiting some
You
of the
mean
behavior.
she returned to that denomination?
Yeah, exhibiting the same argued behavior as
Okay.
I guess I was a Nabal and she was an Abigail.
I'm not familiar with the reference.
Nabal and Abigail.
It's a
No,
story about David, right? If I recall.
Yeah, Nabal means the fool, right? He was the churlish husband, and his wife had to go plead for his life and to David, and David relented, and
Oh.
the fool Nabal died, and then David wifed up Abigail after her husband died.
Man, he had a thing for picking up the seconds.
Yeah, I think that was his third, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong.
Well, what I'm referring to is if he wifed up Abigail and she was previously married, wasn't Bathsheba previously married?
Yeah, to Uriah the Hittite.
Yes. So he picked up what I mean is seconds. Like he was not,
Mm.
he didn't marry virgins. He was at least the second guy. But
I
there
think
were
his
such
first one
fine
was.
women.
I think his first one was. He might have had others, but you know. Now his son really followed in his footsteps to an extreme. Solomon.
Ooh, yes.
That dude loved him some women.
Well,
Yep.
remember who his mother was.
Bathsheba.
Yeah. Interesting that the marriage didn't start out so good and the progeny of that marriage didn't end up so good.
Well, Solomon was a wise man, but he fell away. I think he repented. He was led astray by his dick. Let's put it that way. He followed
Just
his
crossing
pee-pee.
over the 8-minute mark there.
Yeah, he followed his pee-pee, right?
Boy,
And I think he realized that
he absolutely was wise. Because didn't he ask for the gift of wisdom from God?
he did. He did.
And he was supposedly the wisest man that ever lived. Or at least at
Hmm.
that time he was.
I
But
still think
his
he was.
wisdom,
I still think he was led astray for a time.
yeah, well, but his wisdom was not sufficient to keep him on the straight and narrow
No,
path.
no.
So it takes more than just raw IQ and knowledge.
Imagine that,
Well,
guys.
and wisdom is more than IQ,
Oh, I know.
but I mean it's related, and you know that. I'm not schooling you here.
Well, wisdom is in my mind, is a confluence of intelligence, knowledge, and moral fortitude.
Oh, moral fortitude. Does that mean discipline?
Yes, absolutely. Sorry, Nick, didn't mean to derail you here, but I have a feeling
We're
moral
getting
fortitude.
derailed.
Well, I have a feeling moral fortitude is going to come up here in a bit.
Oh, a bit. But the first few minutes of the podcast, we're trying to satiate people's appetites, talk about what we're going to talk about. It's like an introduction, right? Then you flesh it out, then you come back and restage your introduction or thesis, basically. So you're talking about everything before you talk about, like I did in sermons. So, or
Right.
when you look at scholarly papers, is how they do it. It gives it some structure. Oh, maybe I'm doing some of this on purpose, and we're giving you a little fluff to get people to join, and before we hit the body of the material, so everybody can kind of address this on the same page instead of being lost in the conversation. Okay, so There is this video about Doug Wilson talking about women ratting out their husbands to the elders. So basically, subverting the hierarchy to appease the pastors of wrong thing. Oh, they oppose the post-war consensus. Oh, they might not want to do Christmas anymore. Oh, God forbid, they want to do head coverings. Or they don't like seed oils. Oh, or they prefer their wives in red dresses, which Joel Webben himself talks about. It's so bad that these husbands, make these their wishes known to these women, and they expect them to obey. Man, I guess like the lieutenant can't issue orders to the private or the corporal, right? Say, hey, the enemy's over there. This is what's right. This is a plan to engage. There's probably some freedom of moving on there based on discretion, as long as the objective is achieved, right?
So who said this? Joel Webben or Doug Wilson?
Oh, Doug Wilson again. He's a minister of, I think, Christ Kirk or Christ Church in Moscow, Idaho. He has a college news, St. Andrews. I actually met him. I've talked to him one-on-one a few times at conferences. I was an intern in the CREC at Church of the Redeemer, West Monroe, but at the time it was called Auburn Avenue Presbyterian Church, where the Federal Vision got started. I interned under Steve Wilkins, and he's still the pastor there today. And ex-wife fled to said church, basically
So
calling
let me
me,
understand this.
in effect,
I'm a little bit slow
a
here.
Nabal.
So according to Doug Wilson, if a man tells his wife to wear a red dress, he's overstepping his authority, which pretty much maybe he doesn't believe in Ephesians 5, where a woman is to submit in everything. Wearing a red dress, that's beyond his authority. Would that be correct?
Or 1 Peter 3 or Colossians chapter 3 or Numbers chapter 30 or so on and so forth, right? Well,
Oh,
submission doesn't
okay.
really mean that. It doesn't really mean you have to obey, even though it talks about obedience and gives actual examples of obedience to orders. Okay.
So it's just that interpretation, just only lead her where she wants to go.
No, so it's really no authority. It's all responsibility with no authority.
Yeah.
Isn't that
we have another term?
slavery?
Well, yeah, I'd say we're not allowed to say
Oh.
that word. It is
Uh-oh.
what's a term I can say? It's
I already said it.
forced labor, maybe forced mandatory labor. There we go. It's mandatory.
No.
That's probably the best YouTube euphemism.
I already said it. Oh well.
Yeah, you're in a mood today. We got you.
Well, that's what people expected, so I'm providing.
Can we say indentured servitude?
That one I think you can say.
Oh, okay. Is that what you mean?
You mean servant servitude? How does that make sense? Oh, so since Shu has joined the chat, before we get into the Joel Webb and Doug Wilson video, I want to share something. So this is Dalrock. He was kind of the red pill Christian guy. He had Doug Wilson's number a long time ago. Imagine that. He says, as I've been looking at more of Pastor Doug Wilson's, so this is She's the Boss, You're a Guest, written by Dalrock in 2018. As I've been looking at more of Pastor Doug Wilson's books, I've noticed that sometime around 2004, perhaps earlier, he added a new chapter to his theology of marriage. According to Wilson's new theology, headship and submission doesn't apply in the sphere of the home. In the sphere of the home, the roles are reversed. Wilson explains in chapter 3, the wife as ruler of the book linked above. As the Apostle Paul is, this is a quote here, as the Apostle Paul is urging young women to marry, he lets a very interesting comment fall in passing. I will, therefore, that the younger women marry bear children and guide the house, give none occasion to the adversary to speak reproachfully. 1 Timothy 5:14. The word translated here as guide the house is oiko despotian. The wife is to be the, ruler or despot of the home. This means that when she tells you to take off your shoes at the door, you will take your shoes off and cheerfully. He reinforces this in chapter 4 titled An Honored Guest. Emphasis mine. A wife, therefore, has true authority over her home, which no one, including her husband, can take away from her. She must be obedient to him, as this verse states. But this is a clearly delimited obedience. This can easily be misunderstood or misrepresented, but it is still necessary to emphasize. In a certain sense, a husband, as the head of his wife, is an honored and permanent guest. But he should learn to see himself as a guest. He wipes his feet at the door. He eats what is served to him, and he seeks to conform to the pattern established by her, as she in her turn seeks to honor him. He has authority where Scripture gives it. She has authority where Scripture gives it. In the sphere of the home, he is to delegate and then do as he is told. But as in everything that Christians do, such telling is to be done with grace. A peevish wife is no more scriptural than a cantankerous husband. A wife has authority over her husband's sex life. 1 Corinthians 7:4. She has authority over his food. Proverbs 31:14. She is responsible for his clothing. Proverbs 31:21. She is supposed to stay out of his fishing gear, though. Is the husband the head
Ha
of
ha ha.
his wife the way Christ is the head of the church? Absolutely. Is he the boss man? Not even close. Did you have something you want to say?
No. Oh, he had to throw that joke in there. Oh, she can't touch his fishing gear. So I just laughed.
Uh,
It was a
okay.
fake laugh.
Keep reading, but we'll come back to that joke. I
All right.
have something to
All
say
right.
about that.
Nice. Aside from this, is thanks to Shu Tai. He gave me this article. So, one of our faithful listeners. Aside from a passing reference to this on one of Wilson's blog posts last year, I had never encountered his theology. In doing just a bit of searching, I haven't been able to find the same concept being promoted by the usual complementarian suspects. In an article from 2007, the CBMW explains that while the wife has authority in the home, it does not supersede headship, contrary to Wilson. The wife has a ruling function within the household. This is most clearly expressed in 1 Timothy 5:14, which states that wives are expected to rule their households. The Greek word here is oikodespotine or despotine, to house rule. The despotine is related etymologically to the English word despot. The wife's role thus involves a real governmental function. Although the husband is the head of the house, the wife functions under him as someone who rules the house. Chrysostom describes her as a second authority. In other words, the husband's headship over the house neither relieves the wife of responsibility nor makes her passive, nor does it make her a simple servant in the house. Instead, the wife's subordination to the husband expresses an order of authority, with the wife's ruling function carried out carried out subordinate to the husbands. Again, this is contrary to Wilson. Interesting. And it's using
That makes
John
sense.
Chrysostom, early church father. I like Chrysostom.
A man, it makes perfect sense to me. A man can have authority, and he can delegate the authority over the household to his wife to implement. That doesn't make him subservient to her. Yeah, you know what?
No,
what you
that's
just read
traditional
makes
Christianity.
sense.
The Reformers
that
and
works.
Westminster Divines said the same thing. It's not.
But Doug Wilson
yeah.
is turning this on its head. He's inverting this.
Yeah, right here. He says, from what I can tell, Wilson is over a decade ahead of the complementarian curve in this regard. So far, this idea seems to be popular with Wilson and Christian feminists. And mind you, it's been a little bit. It's probably been 7 years since this article came out. This is in 2018. Yeah, so that's the end of the article. Any comments, guys?
I have one.
All right.
Holy shit. And I mean that literally, as in this is holy shit. So I've said this before on some of our podcasts where I think the church has gotten what I said is that the primary function of the church before people could read was to read the word to them. But now that everyone can read, and anybody with moderate levels of literacy can read the Bible and mostly understand, the church has turned into these sort of language lawyers where they're sitting here trying to read the tea leaves of the Bible and do all these fancy translations of the words. And I think what happened here is an example of that. Doug Wilson is sitting here playing word games while saying, oh, well, but it's related to the word despot. And that means that she has absolute authority over the home because that a despot would, it's like, no, what I find interesting about this is in history that it's never been interpreted that way. It's not even interpreted that way by the complementarians. Obviously, the feminist church does interpret it this way, but
the complementarians of a decade ago,
right now they do. But but my point is this is a case study in language lawyering, and you can, and I think we get into this, particularly who I've called the theology bros. They get themselves wrapped up on these axles of this. Well, this word might mean this, and here's the thing: we don't know what the word despot would have meant back then, and so we apply the modern interpretation to it. We imply to us a despot is a tyrant. So what he's saying here refers to tyranny. The wife has tyrannical control over the home. But look at what the actual translation is: home rule.
Mm-hmm.
And okay, if the wife has authority of the home, and as a man, you delegate the authority of the home to her, and you say, you can do this, guys. You say, okay, the home is yours, but I have authority over you.
Right.
That's still her ruling the home. Right.
So like you have a military, right? You're a general.
Yep.
And so you're a major general. You'll have brigadier generals under you, right?
It's major, lieutenant, and brigadier, then on down.
Yeah.
Okay. So you delegate certain tasks and regiments to them, and it's your job to oversee and coordinate, right? You generally listen to what they tell you with regards to their men, their troops, and how they're doing, their effectiveness, et cetera, et cetera. And they're usually you have a war council, and you generally listen to their advice, but doesn't mean you always go with what they say.
No.
And must you go with what they say?
I have two thoughts on this. First one, well, it's based on human nature. Men generally look at external factors, the wider world, threats, opportunities, risks, protect, from what's going on in the world. And he goes out in the world and he does his thing there. And he delegates the internal affairs to his wife. So, yeah, she has command of the house, and that's her responsibility to see that it runs well under his authority. Okay, that makes sense because that's how, if you think of the mentality of women, they're always concerned about interpersonal relations. Men don't really give a shit about interpersonal relations. He deals with the outside world. Okay, so that's thought one. Thought two. Remember the adage, don't worry or don't pay attention to what she says, watch what she does. Okay, so yeah, the more reputable church says organize it this way. Doug Wilson is out there just spouting off. But even though the regular church says it should be this way, watch what they do. Not really what they say, is what they do. They still kowtow to the women. Now,
Do.
to further illustrate this, you know what? Watch our society and feminists. I mean, you got two types of feminists, the ones that act like feminists and the ones that are spouting off and telling everybody and trying to change it. Well, Doug Wilson is the one that's spouting this nonsense. The rest of them are the ones that are saying, oh, no, it's not this way, but then following and doing the same damn thing he's doing.
No. Actually, he's pro patriarchy, but this shows that he's truly not what he's spouting off. That's the point.
Well,
Is that
Nick, on that, remember how I
he
said let's go
spouts
back
off
to
two different things.
yeah, on that. Let's go because I said put a pin in that joke. Okay, remember I said I want to come back to that joke.
Yeah,
that
Where
joke.
was it? Where was
it's
that?
you were scroll down. It's
the fishing joke.
The fishing joke.
He has authority over everything in the house
Everything.
except his fishing gear.
Right. That is the kind of joke that a man who has a harridan for a wife makes. That is the kind of joke that a man who kisses the ground his wife walks on makes.
Mm-hmm.
He's telling you that he's telling you that he is practicing what he's preaching, right? And here's the thing: when I delegate authority, that does not it does not take away my authority. I am temporarily granting this person the authority to do something without asking me first, but I can take it away if they screw up. So, for example, we talk about finances a lot. Now, Elena actually asked me to do this, but I turned off one of her cards recently because she got a little frisky with the buy button, if you know what I mean.
She does what a lot of women do.
Oh yeah. But at the end of the day, this is how you end up. What Doug Wilson did here, and the reason I brought up the financial stuff is this is how we end up with women claiming, oh, anything he does to limit me is abuse, because she can say, oh, I need to do this for the home, and the home, I have absolute authority over the home, and so you can't stop me. And so she can wreck the family's finance. This gives
Sounds familiar.
Right. This gives a biblical seal of approval on women destroying the finances of their families.
Yep.
Okay, I want to take it, build on that. A man has authority over his children. And in the household, the wife has authority derived from him. So she exercises that authority in his absence. But when the children become unruly, what's the old adage? Just wait till your father
Wait
comes
till
home.
you're. Man, I heard that. That was the most terrifying thing.
Same here.
Waiting till my dad got home.
Dad.
So
But then,
that's
then it
okay.
turned out
That
she accused him.
shows
She flipped that shit on him in the end, but poor guy. I
that
learned
shows
now.
that her
But-
authority is derived from him. Now let's put this to the modern world where he's a high income woman and he's the household husband. So he's home raising the kids. And he gets, he's overwhelmed. And the kids, he can't control the kids. So he threatens them. You just wait till your mother comes home. What a pathetic statement.
That's
That's a horrible thing. That just sounds wrong. Like, oh.
Wait till your mom comes home.
Right. Oh, yeah. Mom's
You're
gonna come
in real
home.
trouble with mama.
Yeah, mom's gonna come home. And,
You know what?
Baby, were your feelings hurt?
Yes, when your mother gets home, she's going to take out her finger. She's going to wag it at you.
Man.
Did daddy hurt your feelings? Come here, baby.
Oh, that's actually probably what happens. That's pretty much what happens in a lot of these feminists. When you have a wife that, or whatever, LTR, whatever you want to call it, that's a feminist. Oh, or it doesn't even have to be feminist. Just a woman. It's like, whatever the man does, wait till your dad comes home, but then use it against him when he actually exercises authority. Oh, it's just too harsh. He's too hard on them. Come on, guys.
Just a quick shout out. Nice to see you in the chat there, Shaw.
Yep.
Okay. Maybe he is too hard. I'll grant that.
It happens. It does happen.
But now, think
Kid's probably
about
still
this.
better off.
The man that's so hard on you, he's your father.
Yep.
And he's demanding, but he has a good heart. So every once in a while, you do something great. And he says, hey, man, you impressed me. I'm proud of you. So the same man who is really hard on you gives you a compliment. How much is that compliment worth?
It's gold, man. When I got older, especially when I got older, and my dad said, son, I'm proud of you. Struck hard, man.
Oh, whoa. Would you rather hear, son, I'm proud of you, or son, I love you?
I hear both.
I know. Which one hits you?
I'm proud of you.
Which
I'm
one
proud
is
of
more?
you. I think that I'm proud of you. Yeah.
Proud of you hits.
Yeah.
It hits harder.
They're both good. They're both good, but proud of you is even better. Sure.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
Here's the way I look at it. Okay. There is, most people expect their parents to love them to some degree. But if you do something that's worthy of somebody you respect and you love, turning around and saying, you know what, you did such a good job that I'm proud of you for doing that. It says two things. I can love somebody for their existence, family, right? But when somebody does something that's worthy of being proud of, they earned that.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
that's
merit based.
well, yes, I am a big fan of merit.
Right. All right. I'm going to move on to the main event.
Okay.
Wait, we were
I'll
just
blow
warming
this
up there. Really?
Yeah. So I let people know what Doug Wilson is and how Dalrock already had his number way back in the day. Shout out to Shoe Tie for pointing that out. Thank you, man. Here's Joel Webbin. Can you guys hear it?
Nope, we can't hear it.
No. No.
Send me the link. I can get it up on.
All right. I'll send you the link. This is what happens when you make me do crap. It's that's about the 6-minute mark. We'll start.
Okay.
You got it? I'll remove it. Well, there you go. I'll edit the stage later.
6-minute
So I got other things I want to add.
mark, and then we do this. Audio share is enabled. There we go. Can you hear that?
It's not up yet.
All right.
It's not on the stage.
There, we'll do that.
So we'll go to like around 30-ish minutes, but we can stop it when we have something to say. It's fine.
We want to show a tweet. We want to show a screenshot of an
Can you hear that?
advertisement from Canon Press.
Turn it
We
up.
also want to play a clip that recently surfaced from Doug Wilson, Pastor Doug Wilson, Moscow, with his children, Rachel Jankovic, Becca Merkel, and Andrew Nate Wilson.
Yep.
So we're gonna let's start with the clip, and then we're gonna sync that up. Immediately after that, we'll show the advertisement from Canon, because the two relate to one another. And then we'll show a Twitter poll that was run by Pastor Tom Buck. And for the record, we love and respect all these guys. But then we're going to respectfully show why we don't think it's
Grab some
particularly
coffee.
helpful. Okay, so if you're ready, here's the clip.
Seems to be walking with the Lord, seems to be trying to do her duty, and her husband is going off the deep end. What is the...
I've said a number of times over the years, and this would be another occasion to say it again, is that in a world where some men can go the Nabal route,
Yeah.
I have wished for more Abigails.
How, I guess what I'm trying to say is, how would you tell a woman to be an Abigail?
I would say, tell them to say to their husband, honey, wherever you're going, I'm not. Okay. I'm not going there. And if you don't stop going there, I'm setting up a flare. We're talking to the elders. We're not going to go off silently, sadly into the night.
Would you
one
say
thing
that she should
I-
refuse to move? Like if he's so
He
say
tries to flee accountability.
right,
and,
say
yeah.
things they're already leaving. He wants to leave the church. He wants to move. She doesn't have grounds for divorce in the sense that he's
Right.
not been unfaithful to her, but he wants to move them to a place where she knows she'd have no, like, is that what you mean being Abigail? Say,
Yeah.
I'm,
Well, I
Yes.
think the Abigail thing, I always think it's the coolest thing that she saved both men in that. She saved Nabal from getting killed by David, but she saved David from killing Nabal.
Yeah.
And so she went behind Nabal's back, who was her current husband, but she also stopped her future husband
she
from doing
confronted
something
David
that was
straight
going to
up,
be
pretty
wicked.
much.
Yeah.
And the way she confronted him, like, so she went behind Nabal's back, but she also went very respectfully to David, but said, don't do this thing that you're planning to do.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
So we need
Wow.
more. Basically,
hold
in
on.
dire situations,
There you go.
So when a woman goes behind a man's back and steps out from his authority and does something without his knowledge or approval, it's a good thing? Really?
Okay, so Abigail did not directly disobey Nabal. She actually saved his fucking life.
But the woman's interpretation is this gives her justification to go behind a man's back. Yet,
Hey, you
how
know,
many
if
men?
you see your husband doing something foolish and you try to save his life, that's not a bad thing.
Okay, I understand that.
That's an extreme situation. That's an extreme situation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. But okay, just as an analogy here, in my married time, never once did I accuse either of my two wives of going behind my back, even though they may have done it. But if I did something without their knowledge or without their approval, I was accused of going behind their back. And oh, that was just over the top, egregious behavior because I went behind their
Same.
back. So
Same.
women will do something, but if the man does the exact same thing to a much lesser extent, he is guilty.
Toxic patriarchy, toxic masculinity. You didn't consult her.
Right. Yeah.
I was accused of that too, so I totally get it. Hey, but actually, I'll give you a story here now. So, when I was, I think there's a proper time to consult. You know, if you're married, to consult leaders, right? To report people. Hey, you could even report a non-leader. I was the leader. I reported a non-leader. After I got married, I found sexting and all this shit. And you know who I called up immediately to ask for advice?
You called the church, but you did not report her.
No. I
Behavior
was like, I
was
don't know what to do
she's
with
under
this.
your authority. You needed
Right.
some wise counsel. So
I
you
didn't know what
sought
to
the
do.
advice. You didn't know what to do. So you sought counsel. That's not reporting her.
Right.
Okay, it's telling them what she was doing and asking for their
Mhm.
advice, but you were not submitting to their authority necessarily,
Mhm.
and you're not putting your wife under their authority to judge her and issue
No.
a consequence or a sentence. You were looking for advice.
Yep. I got okay advice. I'm not saying it's terrible, but I was naive. And the church is naive. I shouldn't have believed her. I shouldn't have believed the excuses. But let's fast forward. Okay.
Wait, well, hold on here. A woman would lie to get out of trouble and avoid accountability.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm
Shocker.
shocked.
I know. Oh, absolute shocker, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
Well,
but
they're
the,
more liable to deception. They're more easily deceived and they go by groupthink. And, well, they go by what the sisterhood wants and what culture wants more than what is actually true. They go by feels before reals a lot of the time, which is part of the problem. Okay, so fast forward a few years. Okay, I had finished seminary. We had some issues there and there. She kept reporting me to her dad, who was an elder in the church, and oh, you being head doesn't mean you get to tell her what to do. Like telling her to put her fucking phone away at the table, right? When we're having supper, right? They didn't say it in those words. Oh, but how dare you? How dare you expect her to have sex with you? How dare you confront her? No, you just need to love her more. And that's not what submission really means. Okay. Fast forward, I left the CREC. I was in the PCA. The first time she lied, she was lying, lied about moving. I had to pay an extra few $1,000. She broke a contract, which I told her to study, which she didn't, but I trusted her on the finances. Okay, right? Okay. Well, I get pissed off. Something breaks. I mouth off and leave. I show back up with my friend. She's being all sorts of nasty. And I fucking lose it. By losing it, I just say what's really the fucking problem all along in front of her parents. Why won't you fuck me? Oh, here comes my pastor, who I was interning other. Oh, you just need to love her more. How dare you say that to her? Does anything happen to her, guys?
Nope.
This
No.
frustrated chump over here, right? No. How dare
Nick,
you?
Nick, you
You're a
needed a
bad
hug.
man.
You just
I
needed
just
a
need to be
hug.
fucked. I just
And a
need to be
man
fucked, man.
who won't hug his wife and say, there. How, if he's that nasty and hard hearted, how can you ever expect such a woman to part her legs for such an evil man? Such a hard hearted man. Maybe not
I'm a
evil.
bad man. I'm dangerous, apparently. Whatever. All right. Okay. Same intern. Same interning. Guess what? Astros were playing in the World Series. I hadn't watched baseball in years because guess who controlled the television? Because I was so sacrificial. I had to let the kids and her agenda go over. Damn it, the
So is this
Astros in the World
while you
Series.
were so is
I was
this while you
interning
were
the
in the
Presbyterian
PCA?
Church in America. Yep. Same guy.
Okay.
Oh, I'm going to get you for contumacy. And I'm like, she won't fuck me. She won't listen to me. I just wanted to watch the damn baseball game. The Astros are in the World Series. I want to watch the game for once. I haven't watched baseball in years. Oh, I'm going to get you for contumacy. No. You have so many issues. You need professional help. Blah, blah, blah. Hey, what the fuck did they do to her? Nope, nothing. Oh, yeah.
Hey, Nick. Hey, Nick.
What?
That's just a continuation of the long line of using psychology to demonize normal male behavior. I mean, we talk about this.
Report me to the elders. Hey, who's calling the elders here? The bat on the husband? Reporting the leader of the home?
It sounds like your pastor guy.
Wait, it's
No,
your
the wife
pastor.
to the
Just to be
elders to the
clear,
pastor.
this pastor was not Doug Wilson.
Correct.
Even though he's up on the screen. We're not talking about Doug here.
It's a perennial
Correct?
problem. This is a common yes, exactly. But it's the same phenomena. This mentality
yeah.
doesn't come out of nowhere.
Hey, Nick, there's a great comment on the side I want to pull up.
Sure.
Elders like to think their presumably obedient wives are a product of their great leadership rather than their wife's father. That's an interesting twist on this idea of servant leadership. It's like, oh, my wife is so obedient because I'm such a great servant leader. See, I do all the right things and she does all the right things. But Chief, I think you might be onto something here. It's not really a product of their servant leadership because all of these behaviors, and any psychologist will tell you this, all of your core sets of behaviors are completely formed in you by the age of 6. So your core temperament, your core, like how she's going to respond to authority figures in her are programmed and locked in by the age of 6, and they will never change after that. And that's a function of the father, not of the husband.
And I'm not saying the husband's behavior has no factor there, but there's nature and nurture, which if he steps into that and exemplifies the same leadership traits, there generally shouldn't be a problem unless she rebels for some issue. And one of those issues we'll talk about later. I have some stuff on that.
Right. I think, obviously, if you're a weak man, and you give her the space to run you over, she will, because that's female.
I did. I did because I was forced to think that's correct.
Right. That's female
I was
nature.
beat into submission by tyrants.
So we need a hierarchy here. Oh, hey guys, I'm going to do this for a minute. So we all have nature, and in the Red Pill, we talk a lot about female nature. This is core programming that exists in every human from the moment they're conceived. Okay. Female nature is always and will always be. Okay. It supersedes even these core temperamental things that you're programming into your young kids. Okay. The 6-year-old stuff is okay, we have female nature, but have we been able to teach them the discipline, to give them the tools to work around it, right? It's like these are the tools that contain your base animal nature and set you up to be a functioning human being later in life. Okay. So there's a hierarchy of how this works. And then, your teenage years, you spend a lot of time more learning how to operate in social situations, right? But these things come, the more complicated these things are, the later they come in life as skills. Okay. The point here is that I'm trying to make is that there is a hierarchy or taxonomy of this stuff. And these servant leader guys are over here thinking that they've done something special. Well, I can guarantee you, Doug Wilson did not marry his wife when she was 6. So what that really means is, and this is, I think, what Chief is getting at, is that he had nothing to do with his wife's good temperament in terms of creating it. He might be able to keep the temperament alive by being a proper man or not. And as I said earlier, that joke he made sounds like a guy who has a harridan of a wife. But so, I have to question that. But I want to make that point about the hierarchy. Hierarchies are everywhere in all aspects of life and nature and the universe we live in. This is just another example of it.
Well, you brought up something. Before the age of 6, you have human nature, and you have the father who basically instills discipline. So it's a skill that they can use. The child learns that discipline skill to discipline their nature. Then they'll go on to test that and whatnot in their teenage years. And then in their marriage, if she's learned that skill of discipline, and he has too, it's exhibited in different ways, she'll probably be a good wife. But can she learn the skill of discipline after she gets married? Can she learn the skill of discipline in her 20s or 30s if she did not learn it before the age of 6?
Chances are no. Yeah, by God's grace, he can transform people, but don't count on it.
Yeah,
Don't
I
count on it.
would say play the odds, guys. Realistically, and here's the other thing I would say. Can they learn it? Yes, but it will always be an affectation. It'll always be a suit they wear. And so what you find with these people who learn it later in life is that they can discard it much easier because it is not part of their core programming that they grew up with as kids. And Jordan Peterson has actually talked about this quite a bit. If you want to go research more on it, and he did this kind of stuff, and he was dealing with the people who didn't have this programming in them from a young age, and he can teach it to them, and that's a lot of what he was doing in his clinical career, was trying to help people get the discipline they needed to function in society, jobs and relationships. And but even then, it's like, yeah, I can give this to you, but what you always find is they throw it off like yesterday's underwear when it suits them.
Maybe to throw around some terms, discipline learned at a young age becomes a core competency.
Yeah.
Discipline learned or imposed later is a threat of penalty.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah, that's a good way to describe
or a threat of consequences. Let's call it that.
Yeah.
Threat of consequences.
Hmm.
And, a lot of people don't even learn to recognize the consequences of their behavior later in life because they just refuse to consider discipline, even when it comes to their own personal consequences for their behavior.
I know that was a sidetrack, but this was a great comment, and I wanted to pull it up because I think it's actually relevant to this discussion. These elders,
All right.
and you can see that in the way Doug Wilson talks about it in the Dalrock article. He thinks he's
Well,
done more than he
out
has.
for a smoke, so Nick can can start the video again, get this stream back on track.
Yes.
I'll be
Well,
listening.
Plutarch has to put it on because he's got
Okay.
control.
With Nabals, we need Abigails. Now, at the same time, I'm saying that in a generation where many, many wives have never thought of obeying their husbands ever.
Right.
No
And,
shit.
She
But
shouldn't.
it seems like they all think to do it when they shouldn't.
Yeah.
In the time
No
when they
shit.
ought to say,
No.
absolutely not.
Well, it's
go
embarrassing.
along,
It's
yeah.
actually it's
Right,
not,
but
it's
if
embarrassing
he
to them
says
as
let's
well.
eat
It's
more
not just
homemade
embarrassing.
meals, she might feel free to say absolutely
No,
not, but
yeah,
not
yeah.
when it comes to
But so what you're saying is send up a flare, get elders involved to make sure
Get
that it's
help.
on the radar. Don't disappear quietly.
right.
So that one of the things that Abigail did there, she went and talked to David, and she went and talked to David in a way that her husband would absolutely have hated and forbidden.
Yeah.
And that get help, basically
Yeah.
get help. No, even if your husband doesn't want you to get help, you have to get help.
And you
Yeah.
would say
And
that
then
for
and then she went
friends-
and told her husband what she'd done.
And you
Yeah.
should
Yeah.
also say though, for friends of that woman, that they need to be encouraging her straightforwardly to do that.
But it's also incredibly brave both directions, because she'd be really brave to go do what she knew would infuriate Nabal. But she's also going to David, who's really mad right now and
Coming
is
with an
on the
answer.
No, and
warpath.
I think
And
these
she
guys,
throws herself in front to say, please don't do this.
but also the guys that are doing this kind of thing are being imbalanced.
Mhm.
It's a scary man
Yeah.
who's going this way. It takes courage to stand up to a husband.
At least at his keyboard in the dark.
Stop.
No, for a woman,
a fake
it's-
name.
Stop. He's a scary man. Did you catch the language there?
I did. Well, these two ladies have been pushing pure feminism.
Yeah. I wouldn't say they're pushing feminism, but they are. He's a scary man. They need to send up flares, talk to the elders. Okay. What makes him a scary man? They're going to talk about that eventually. But I want you guys to think that there's something that invokes feelings. Notice here, scary, dangerous. They're going by their feels before reals. They're injecting experience into the scripture that they are talking about. They're talking about the modern sisterhood, which we're going to talk about soon, how they conceive of scary men, masculine men, the toxic patriarchy, toxic masculinity of men who insist upon certain things or go against the modern consensus or post-war consensus, even to whatever extent that may be. They don't go by what an approved history, which we'll talk about, or things that are not clearly delineated in the Bible, or things that used to be clearly accepted in Scripture and in the church. Well, are clearly given in Scripture, nature, and practice in the church, but they start insisting on these things, but they're scary. They're unhinged. They're out there, right?
Well, Nick, I
Therefore,
think
it excuses their shitty behavior.
I think what men need to be doing, particularly church men, is pressing on this one question. What is scary behavior? You women throw these words around, you know, as if they're supposed to mean something. But here's the thing, women, particularly if you're up here on a podcast, think about this. When you say scary, what do you envision? Maybe you envision a guy throwing punches. Okay. But when you say scary, that allows a woman who says, Well, I don't like I don't like the way he said it. The tone policing women, that allows them to come in and say, well, that's a scary man.
That's verbal abuse. Or if you saw one of my posts, it was a text message that I discovered when I ran away with the phone being beaten. Yeah, I was being beaten and ran into the church and got arrested on bullshit. Oh, one of the text message was between a church wife and my ex-wife, I was a pastor of a church and she was a church wife. I was growing facial hair, and apparently me kissing my kids and now ex-wife was with stubble was considered abuse and that she should have called the cops. Because I'm a scary man for growing stubble. Get the
Well,
fuck out of here, guys.
that
Fuck
one
out
was
of
a contrivance.
Yeah, that one was a useful
Okay.
tool.
Okay, now Plutarch said something. The scary man, it invokes emotions. What makes a man scary? Okay, it relates to accountability.
You can't control him. You can't
No.
pull his puppet strings.
What emotion did you evoke that causes her to retort that you're scary? Oh, it was the emotion of guilt.
Mm.
He did something wrong. He's guilty. Therefore, she's accountable for being guilty.
And
she will avoid accountability. Therefore, anything that evokes the emotion of guilt within her causes her to call that man scary.
well,
Team Woman. She's already on Team Woman, which we'll talk about later.
Well, here's the thing, though, and I just thought of this as you were saying that, Steve. Consequences are scary because it means I did something wrong and something bad, or whatever definition of bad
guilt
is going
and accountability.
Right. Something bad is going to happen to me because I made a mistake. And that bad thing is probably going to involve some action that I don't like being taken against myself. Therefore, anything to a woman, anything that looks like accountability is also abuse. Why? Because it is an action taken against me that results in a feeling that I do not like. And
hey,
go ahead.
Hey, to all our listeners and the ladies and my haters, my existence is abuse. Deal with it.
well, I mean, you're making a joke out of it, but have you guys listened to what's going on TikTok and Twitter lately? There's a lot of women out there who are saying exactly that. The female, the existence of the male is abuse to the female. Like, I mean, I know we're joking about it, but they are actually saying these things. We have gotten there, and the reason I wanted to drag you guys through that little logic loop, for lack of a better term, was so that you understand how the two are connected. I am afraid of a consequence, and that consequence will visit a negative action on me. Therefore, that consequence is abuse, because any negative action taken against a woman is, by default, abuse.
Save me, oh white knights! Oh, save me, you simps! Oh, poor me! Oh, Mr. Pastor! Oh, this bad man! Yeah.
Yeah, the feeling of the imposition of a consequence in the future is reason for abuse, calling it abuse today in the present.
Yeah, correct.
Remember, we say women live in the present. They avoid the future consequences of their behavior. No, they're always looking at everything today. The past Everything you did in the past becomes an emotion that's there in the present. That's why they bring in an argument. They bring in everything, including the kitchen sink. And it's
Shit.
all here today, and it's real today, and it's all present. And they avoid the future. But what you might do in the future is brought back to the present. And therefore, all this, everything is compressed into now. Man, and this is overwhelming, and therefore it's scary.
Oh, and that's
And-
what happens when they report to the church elders. They vomit all that. Dude, I went through this so many times. They vomit every fucking thing you ever did wrong, especially exaggerated bullshit, right? That's not the way they said it, right?
Your
Or it didn't really
mustache.
happen at all. Yeah, no shit, man. So, like, yeah, I even had like behind my back, she was telling this shit to the whole community, like, oh, like this guy I thought was like my best friend. He's a pastor, like a few hours away in South Dakota. She's talking shit to her friend, which is the pastor's wife, to that guy, and they were manipulated behind my back. Tell me, oh, he forgot the gospel because I'm talking about patriarchy. Oh, and the other, like, I was the president of the ministerial association where I was at. Oh, she's talking behind my back to those pastor wives and pastors too. I had no fucking clue. Oh, and she's talking to other elders in my church that I didn't know about, having private conversations. And then they'd come to me.
Hey, we have a comment.
This is
from
a
Alex.
disrespect of hierarchy.
We have a comment from Alex.
There we go.
Well, I haven't seen one of his comments before, so I want to make sure to highlight it because it's on target. Tell me about it. Here's an example. One time, my wife was pissed at her sister, and somehow it spilled over to my past behavior as a single man. Man, the past becomes the present. Yes, exactly.
Mhm.
Oh, and honestly,
And-
how in the hell does your past behavior as a single man have anything to do with your sister-in-law? It doesn't. And
It's
any
cover. It's cover.
right.
It's cover, guys.
It's that is done not as like they're trying to make an argument or anything. It's done to give them cover for their behavior. And you don't have to give your story, but very likely, and I'll guess that it was done as, well, you were worse for your behavior than, right? Your behavior was worse than this. And we're not gonna. You don't have to tell your story. I'm just guessing, but somehow the man's behavior always becomes the example of the superlative bad, the superlative evil.
Well, maybe it just evoked those thoughts. And then she thought of that and she was relating to that emotion. And then something that you did in the past causes her to think of the same emotion, which is a more actually intense. And so remember, women relate to everything according to their experience. So her mental process to process what her sister said, she relates that to her past experience with you, and that evokes the emotion of being pissed off at you. So now that's the issue because it's the same emotion. I mean, female logic is really
It's not. It's not.
confusing.
It's not logic. In that case, it kind of becomes an excuse to also stop talking about the bad things sister did, and it's
I got a whole thing on the sisterhood at the end of the stream, guys.
okay. We'll let you get there.
We should continue. Get through this so we can press the point home.
For a woman, a husband losing his
Oh,
grip
sure.
on reality is a terrifying,
Yeah.
it's just
Yeah.
scary. So I have a lot of
We can end on that optimistic note. But I think the
Don't like it. Any thoughts? I've got thoughts, but I'll open up to you guys first.
I mean, well, I'll say that like women tend to be consensus driven.
Right.
Men tend to be more
Truth driven.
contesting. Well, sure, but like more of contesting and more of questioning, more agonistic.
Contrarian.
And so when you have, contrarian. So
we can
this
stop
sets
right
up,
there. That's my whole point.
this sets up a,
There you go. They let the cat out of the bag right there. And we can end that video right there. They'll talk about reporting anons. They talk about anons. They talk about, not going by the right, historical consensus. The whole point is, we have this extra biblical requirement and, it doesn't go with what we like. So let's report it. Because it doesn't go with the consensus, and women are consensus driven, and these cucks, these white knights, these simps enforce consensus instead of truth. And they'll go like, what the fuck what does the church have to do with the historical viewpoint on World War II or World War I? Get the fuck out of here. Did Christ rise? Did Christ live sinlessly, was born of a virgin, lived sinlessly, died on the cross, and was raised bodily from the grave? Yeah, you should care about that, not this other shit.
Well,
Get the
Nick,
fuck out of here with that crap.
let me give you an answer as to why the church should care about the history of World War II. Because the church is a cultural institution, and the radfems need to push a certain agenda about what that war meant and what it didn't mean. And they need to push a certain agenda about, well, a lot of other things. And so the church becomes a conduit for feminist teachings because it's a cultural institution that has sway. And so now it becomes paramount that the church have an opinion on all these things.
That's because I'm like, Steve, you're gonna have to take a back seat to Rollo for a second.
Okay.
Even though I think he took some of this stuff, he developed it interacting with you. I don't know who was first, but
Well,
here.
you know what? I give Rollo credit. I mean, I wasn't in a pissing match with Rollo. We had a little bit of disagreement, but who cares?
Who wants to read Rollo here?
I can read it. Men with a well-defined red pill lens, having the sensitivity to understand the subcommunications of what's going on around them in church, should be rightly horrified. This is why men like Dalrock have been vilified by religious men and women alike who understand the manosphere is wise to what's transpiring in the church. The feminine imperative, team woman, has taken the Lord's name in vain by presuming to promote its agenda while socially engineering generations of men to support it by claiming it's God's will. Read the heroic female empowerment narratives by any of the women's ministry speaker. They will regularly defend and aggrandize the sisterhood above any tenets of faith. They'll tolerate blasphemy of the faith, but never blasphemy of the feminine imperative or team woman. They'll rationalize abortion as a man's sin, but never accept woman's ultimate accountability for it. And any man to attempt to rebuke them for anything really is shamed for the heresy of male chauvinist judgmentalism. And being judgmental of any woman is the most grievous sin of sins a man can commit in the New Order Church. If the feminine primary church, the feminine primary church, the feminine imperative is now the Holy Spirit. What she says is an article of faith. Men who become aware of this via the red pill are a threat to her.
Hey,
team woman.
No, okay. I just got some clarity from reading that. Before we read Team Woman, I want to say this. Feminine imperative is women's nature. What they are inclined to do. What they do is Team Woman. So, Rollo was talking about the feminine imperative. the nature of women. Team woman, which is my concept, is talking about what women, the actions of women. So I would say the two aspects are different, but they're completely compatible.
Okay. So basically, the sisterhood is cannot tolerate any deviation to their narrative. It is the blasphemy that the church has taken up. Instead of they don't care about blasphemy against God, going against the light of nature, going against holy scripture. In fact, what is blasphemy in the church is going against the sisterhood.
And I just want to state here for the audience, we're using sisterhood as kind of a generic term for a whole system of beliefs and actions that women will take to defend their primacy in the church, their supremacy in the church.
And Team Woman, again, differs from role in the sisterhood. How again, Steve?
Well, the feminine imperative is their nature.
Okay.
Team woman describes their actions.
Okay.
And women cohesively act very similarly. And they will defend another woman because she's part of the sisterhood. But the reason for that is because I'm defending that other woman's nature because that's my nature. And so if I don't defend her, I might feel guilty about my nature. And I don't want to feel that. So it's kind of it's a hive mind driven by selfish motivation, but
Okay.
it tends to be defending others because of the feelings it may evoke in themselves.
Hey, Steve, you want to tell us about this is your article. You are 7 Man. This is on the Red Archive. Same as where Dalrock's article was. This is January 23rd, 2014. Damn, you've been around like 10 years plus in the ministry. All right. You want to read your
What do you want
article
me
and
to
explain
say?
it to us?
Okay.
No, just explain your article and explain it to us.
Okay. I have
Either way.
observed that a woman always takes a side of other women against a man unless she has a particular attraction or allegiance to that man. Women are very competitive and will fight another woman over a man if he is her man or a potential her man, but will not engage in a fight with another woman on behalf of a man that she has no feelings for. He's not her man, and she has no desire to make him her man. In simple terms, a woman is on two teams: Team Woman and Team Her Man. Team Her Man is her primary allegiance, and she will go against Team Woman if she has a Team Her Man. But Team Her Man is more fluid and an ill-defined concept. It can be an unbelievably strong loyalty, but can quickly slide into nothing if she loses respect for her man. Most women have no Team Her Man, but desperately want to be on such a team. Also, other women will actively fight against a woman that puts Team Her Man first. Happiness is found on Team Her Man. So any woman that does not have a Team Her Man tries to recruit a woman back to Team Woman so that all the woman team members can be miserable together. The irony is that any woman that tries to sow discord in another Team Herman does great damage to all other Team Hermans and thus hurts herself too. There's just too much comfort in the shared misery on Team Woman, and they can gripe about the happy women that are on a winning Team Herman and against the imaginary Team Man. The members of this Team Woman don't understand the concept of greater good. There is no Team Man because men don't give a shit about other men. Women on Team Woman think they're fighting against Team Man, aka evil patriarchy. But Team Man never showed up for the fight. So in our modern world, Team Woman is predominant and is changing the rules to make it easier to win against an opponent that never showed up for the fight.
You know what, Steve?
A lot of truth there, Steve.
I'm going to take this recording and I'm going to clip it. So we have 7-man reading 7-man.
There we go.
Okay. You know, the wisdom in here. Okay, we're what, 10 years later?
Yeah.
The wisdom in this kind of astounds me. I can understand each one of these points even better today, and it relates to so many aspects. Sometimes we perform above our ability, and this probably is one of them for me.
So how does this fit into Doug Wilson and what Joel's talking about and the other guys? They talk about women being kind of consensus driven. They in a later part in the video, which we're not going to get to for time wise, they talk about, hey, bringing the women around. They see other women doing these things, having a head covering, lots of kids, submitting to their husbands. They can kind of like, oh, maybe my husband's not so bad. They can kind of go in with the consensus, the majority opinion, and start following the man if he's going the kind of a patriarchy route. But
I don't know if it does. Because what I didn't mention in this article at all is the simps.
Yeah.
Oh,
like
The
Doug?
simps.
Like Doug Wilson?
Well, you call them what they are, but the simps are the men who are supporting Team Woman.
Doug Wilson.
And I didn't mention that. The simps are absent in my article here, my write-up.
So,
but yeah, well, maybe the simps are actually on Team Woman.
okay,
They are,
so
actually.
So we all agree that there is no Team Man. Okay.
More Team Man, I guess. You could say.
I guess, yeah. But you could argue that there is a Team Simp.
Absolutely.
And the reason
So when they had the Amy Bird controversy on her page, they had all this petition of all these simping white knight pastors and elders that signed this petition condemning the daily Genevan.
No, okay, I'm going to argue with you. Yeah. There is no Team Simp.
Okay.
Because simps don't give a shit about other simps. Simps are just men who have joined Team Woman.
Okay. Because because you could say that the women don't accept the simps onto their team. They don't treat them as team members. They treat them as, I don't know, the grass they're running around in, or useful rags. But it's like, are you on the same? I mean, it's kind of like the kid who wants to be on the team at the pickup game at recess, but no one wants the kid because they know the kid sucks.
Kind of. I'll put it this way. The simps are the ladies' auxiliary of Team Woman.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. That we can agree on. I didn't think that giving simps the status of teammate inside Team Woman was going to be a good picture, because I don't think they get it. And I don't. You're right. They don't care. But
They don't
it's like-
care, but they are serving the purposes and the emotions and the goals
yeah.
of
Yeah.
Team Woman.
So auxiliary.
They're
works
being
perfectly.
subservient to Team Woman.
I was going to go so far as
appease
to say they're being
them.
servile, but
Servile, okay, yes. In order to get pussy. Right?
honestly, I think it's to get attention. I mean, they might hope for pussy, but I think a lot of these simps, they're just, he looked at me, she acknowledged I exist. If you read Reddit, that's what sends these guys over the moon. You acknowledge that I exist.
But that's the first step into getting pussy. First, she has to recognize that you exist. Oh, she's paying attention to me. Maybe I'll get pussy.
Can you tell I don't understand how
She
simps
told me
think?
hi.
Like, that makes no sense to me. Like, why would you ever think that a woman who, just because she sees you, is going to open her legs? What the actual fuck?
Okay, yeah. But if she doesn't recognize you even exist, how can she part her legs for you?
That's
the first
true.
step is recognizing you exist. Oh, and now I have a chance.
But you don't. Like, how could you not know that you don't have a chance? I know they don't know. But
They give him the ick, man.
yes,
They like
exactly.
them. It's friend zone ick, like friend zone. But if ever in that sphere, it's automatic ick. Like in a kind of a sexual arousal, romantic relationship, whatever you want to call it, it's the ick. But they're totally friend zone, and they tolerate them. They're useful idiots.
I mean, Leroy, yeah, this is true. Women dictate their agenda, and if they say jump, the simple just ask how high.
Bad man over there. He disagrees with me. He
Yes.
makes me feel bad. Go after bad man.
Go get him, boys. Right? How
I'm your
much?
Huckleberry.
How much get 'em boys have? Oh, okay. This whole post-election 4B movement of all these women cutting on, what is that? That's get 'em boys. My simp army, go get 'em. You.
I'm your Huckleberry. Oh, Johnny Ringo. Look like someone just walked over your grave. Bad man, bad. See this, guys. We give these things. We give these lessons. We have a lot of previous lessons built into this. So we talked about this at the beginning of the show. We talked about man bad. The church promotes the man bad narrative. So, we talked about female victimhood. We talked about quarrelsome church wives. We've talked about many other things, right? These themes keep coming up, and we're pushing these and applying it to different narratives, different problems you see in society, culture, and even in the church, because we actually fucking care. Fuck the decline. No. Don't enjoy the decline. Fuck the decline. Use these tools and do something about it.
Well, I mean, in the vein of fuck the decline, remember, you're not going to rebuild the church by sitting here and giving the women more of what they want. That's what destroyed the church. You want to know why men are leaving? Because you all sit here and just you might as well just have your hand on your dick the entire time, because you're just sitting here simping for these women. And woman said this, gotta believe everything she says. No, you don't.
The
Women lie.
police.
Well,
He made me feel.
and here's and I was telling Nick this before the start of the show. And what I said is look, these pastors They know what they're doing. They know they're doing this. They know. Whether or not they're willing to admit it, they know that they are, as we would say, simping for these women. Why? Because the women are the primary tithers and it keeps the lights on. We've talked about this before too. Okay. You have to simp for the women if you want to run a church. And okay, Nick, or was it Nick or Steve who asked the question in the pre-show where you said all these women or all these pastors, what are they told? Oh, you never. What do you never do, guys? If you're a pastor, what do you never do?
Criticize women.
No.
Oh, no. Steve was talking about this. Oh, no, like I was told in pastoral counseling in seminary. Actually, Steve was the one who brought it up. And I confirmed that this is what I was taught. What was that, Steve?
Okay. All pastors, all priests, every denomination is told, hey, when you're counseling people, do not ever put yourself in a intimate or closed door situation with a woman. If you're counseling a woman, leave the door open. Make sure there's someone else around. Do not leave yourself open to any accusation of wrongdoing. They do take this to heart. They know this. Well, gee, if they know this and they're taught that no matter what your behavior is, you can have good behavior, nothing can happen. You can still be accused. Yet these same men will when a woman comes in her office and say, oh, he did this, he did that, he's gonna fucking believe her and say, oh yeah, she's a bad man. You fucking coward piece of shit. You've been told that you cannot trust women, and you do that in your private life, yet you'll jump on the team to demonize and destroy a man's family and facilitate him being alienated from his kids. You piece of shit. You viper. You coward. Now, hold on. Man, for a minute there, I thought I was being Nick.
Well,
Damn, here we go, Steve.
Well, the reason that this came up in our pre-show discussions was because I said something, and what I said was these men know. They know what they are doing. And they act all innocent. They act all, because why? Because that's necessary to support Team Woman. They have to act like they didn't know that women would lie, even though they were taught in seminary that women would lie. And they get away with it because it's not taught as women will lie about your interactions. It's just taught as don't do this.
Mm-hmm.
Because
they never ask why.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't want to delve deeper.
Right.
Just dig a little under the surface there.
Well, the red pill can help you dig under that surface because we're a bunch of red pill guys, and it was immediately obvious to us what the problem was and how and what these guys weren't doing. But these Christian pastors, they're just casting about and what's going on and why are we, why is the church falling apart? And we're sitting here going, it's right fucking there. And they won't listen. Will not.
Hey, I have to go check on the dog. I'm dog sitting today.
Okay.
I'm going to present something, guys. Oh, they don't even understand their own scripture? Likewise, you wives, be in subjection to your own husband, that if any obey not the word, so, don't have to preach at your guy, They also may without the word be won by the conversation. It means the behavior, not their it's without words. So conversation in the um kind of the older English meant behavior. Won by the conversation of the wives. Oh, so these are unbelieving husbands, right? They're won over not by their harping or disagreeableness, but the the subject conversation behavior of their wives, chaste behavior with fear. That's like respect, right? Proper adornment, it's not about outwardness, but the proper hidden man of the heart, in which is not corruptible, even the ornament of a meek and quiet spirit, which in the sight of God is a great price. Not your incessive fucking nagging, not your harping on the internet like these women are doing, with Doug Wilson, their dad, whatever.
But also,
Shut
Nick,
the hell up. Shut the hell up. Go make me a fucking sandwich.
Well-
Make your husband a fucking sandwich. Shut the fuck up. Be meek and quiet and stop encouraging degenerate women.
well, Nick, you know what? This also does kind of imply.
Subjection to their own husbands. Stop encouraging contrary behavior. What were you saying,
Well,
Plutarch?
I was just going to say that this implies that what Doug Wilson is saying is false, because he's saying, "Oh, well,
Absolutely.
because he's saying, "Oh, well, you women, you've got to report this and you've got to report that." No, they're not. I'm not saying women should report nothing, but you're a woman. You are subject to your man. You are sub or inferior, and that is the role you have chosen to take on by being married. You go to him first.
So what basically ends up happening, right? I'm going to finish reading this. For after this manner, and I'll go back to that thought. And after this manner, the old time, the holy women also who trusted in God adorned themselves, being in subjection unto their own husbands. And even as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord, whose daughters you are, as long as you do well and aren't afraid with any amazement. Okay. Guess what? What Doug is telling these people basically is you're better off. Husbands, you're better off not even being Christian. At least you'll have fucking respect. Because the second you become Christian, guess what? She's going to report your ass. All that respect is fucking gone. Nah, don't even join the church. Say, or you can call yourself Christian, but don't even be subject. Don't even be subject to Doug Wilson's church. You know why? Because the second you do that, you lose respect, you lose obedience, and she's going to report your ass for being
anything
a man.
she wants to. It becomes a
Because
weapon.
she thinks if she's under the authority of the church, you're under the authority of the church, she can go around you up to the higher authority and use that to control you.
No shit.
So, yeah, it's the way it works.
Why would I want to join that fucking church to lose authority? Hey, you think you'd have a better relationship in Christ, but no, apparently with these churches, these cuck churches, these white knights, no, you're worse off being a Christian. You're worse off joining the church as a husband. Maybe there's a fucking problem.
There's a parallel, Nick. University. Graduates of university and those attending. It's like 3 women to every 2 men getting degrees. Men are falling behind. No, not really. Men are saying, fuck that. I'm not going to spend all that money to be indoctrinated. It's all shit. I'll just go out and earn a living. And if I'm smart, I'll do well. I don't need that. And that's what men are doing. Okay, in the church.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we have a problem. Men aren't attending church. All the women who are in church. The women are the good ones. Look at all these women attending church, and where are the men? No. The man decided, nope, this is bullshit. I'm not going for it.
Steve,
So is it a positive that men are not attending church? Is it a positive that men are not attending
No.
university?
Yes and no. It's a witness against the church, but yes, I think men should attend church because it's biblically commanded in Hebrews chapter 10. But not those churches. Fuck no, I wouldn't go near Doug's church with a 10-foot pole at this point. Fuck that. Why would I sign my own why would I sign myself up to my own destruction? That's stupid.
Well, and so Steve, what you're talking about is a form of propaganda. It's basically what they're
Sure.
trying to say is we need men to come back to the schools. Men are falling behind. So they're trying to frame it as, oh, men, don't you see? You're falling behind women. Come on. You need to get up. You need to step up. Where have we heard that before? So this is a form of propagandizing to try, because what do women complain about? Oh, well, there's not enough good men, high value men. We need men to step up. And the church is doing the same thing. They're saying, oh, we need men to step
yeah.
up. Right?
Oh, we don't have enough good Christian church
Exactly.
attending men. So they're wanting men to step back in line
Mhm.
and be good followers and do what we tell you to do.
Get back on the
Men
plantation.
don't want to do that. The men not attending university, are they educated men? Well, they care. A lot of men care about education. They go out and learn a vocation, and they go into business, go into trades, whatever, and they are learning. Just not in the formal sense. The men who are not attending church still care about God, still care about morality, still care about the culture, learn Christian principles. They come to the red pill to learn the nature of things and how to navigate through. Have the men who are not attending church rejected God? I think that men are actually learning to find God and the logos, rational logic, morality, in other areas that's not the church. Now, do I think they should go to church? Yeah, I agree with Nick. Yes. But you have to find a church that teaches that. Just like if you go for a university degree, you have to find a
Mhm.
place to go to learn what,
Yes.
The solid truth. Like, you can go to university and learn engineering. That, for the most part, hasn't been heavily corrupted. But you go for an English lit degree, probably not a wise idea.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say is, I mean, I live in a very blue area of the country. There are no churches. This just like, but if you live in Austin, where Pastor Joel Webbin is, I would recommend that. I would go to that church. Probably, it's not going to be one where you are told as a man every day how horrible you are and how you need to submit to women. Webbins kind of made a name for himself on the internet for being the not that pastor, not that guy. Okay, but I don't live in Texas. Let's just start there. And as Nick will tell you, Texas is an enormous state.
Place. Big place.
Right. So, it's what, the other thing that I would say is, and I've told this to Nick, and we've had conversations about this, but I would say I think we're going to see a lot more church done in a lot more church type activities done in this format on YouTube. Maybe it's StreamYard where you've got your pastors and your people on stream, right? Um, why? Because men are looking for where they can find the truth. And if the
Yeah.
truth is, we saw this earlier this year. If the truth is on X, that's where the men are. That's where the truth is. They will be there. If the truth is on a stream somewhere, that's where they will be. If it's not in a,
Unfortunately, they're afraid of the long housing of the church. They don't want to be long housed by the church.
yeah, and they're right to be. They are correct. So what will happen is what always happens in these situations: an alternative arises.
So, in some ways, the red pill is an alternative to the church.
It just
Doesn't
gives the truth that the church should have always known and did. You can look at, you can actually look, you know this, Steve. You can look at the scripture, you can look at some of the church fathers. You have these truths. They understood it in part, right? It's natural law, natural, there's truth out there in nature. The church in general is not against that. They've just turned a blind eye. And guess what? What have you said about the truth showing up? The truth doesn't go away. It just shows up where?
Somewhere else.
just goes to a different place.
Yeah.
So, I want to make something clear here. Just to say, the red pill does not replace the church. Red pill,
No.
and I'm going to call it
Correct.
an ideology, does not supersede Christian ideology. But you can accept the truths of the red pill, and it can be consistent with Christianity. But red pill is subservient to Christianity. That doesn't make it incompatible.
I would say that red pill has become, at least for me and probably for you guys, sort of a tool that we use when we're looking for the truth. If one of the Christian commandments is to seek God and therefore seek the truth, then the red pill has become one of the filters that we apply when we're looking at things being presented to us, particularly about the nature of women, because there has been so much that they have been observed that has been subsequently proven correct, that we can kind of go, well, like over here, these guys, we have to think about what the church is saying in the context of what we actually know about women. And that's why I think that example of, telling pastors in seminary, yeah, never be in a room with a closed door and a woman, is so telling. Because the red pill guys are going, duh, right?
No
But-
shit, right?
But the church is sitting
Hey,
here
Nick.
wrapping it. Go ahead.
Leroy has a comment that I think we should address specifically.
Uh-oh.
I gotta find it. Maybe you can address this one. I'll give it to Nick.
Okay, he says maybe Islam was the way. I'm not Muslim or Christian, but Muslims definitely have their women and family in order. Yes and no. You will. Depends on how much hold Muslim culture, Muslim law has on the state. So you go to different countries that before Islam was reinstituted and they had secularized, didn't happen as much. Their families were disintegrating about the same as you see in the West. How much hold does Christianity have over the state? None. So maybe a lot of these Women and families are not in order because the women are not Christians in general. They're feminists.
I want to say something else here. Alex, you are correct.
You're more the
Turkey,
stats guy.
yeah, well, Turkey is very secular, both in it's actually a very multi-religious country that the Muslims were a minority until recently. Their political institutions are very secular, to the point where, yes, Erdogan is Muslim, but the military is very much not, and they frequently disagree on things. Um, so there's another comment I want to bring up here from Chief that I think is important too. We got a lot to work through today, guys. The women in Doug's church just got the green light to run to the state and turn the church in, as in, like turning them into jail, should they think the leaders are being Nabal about holding super spread. Yeah, exactly. Right. It's like it was, and I saw this happen in my state a lot, where somebody would run to the state and then the church would get shut down for just holding an event, just a normal service. So, but and the reason I say this is a good point is because I don't know if Doug realizes that's what he said, but that is a logical outgrowth, because when a woman reports something to the church elders and the church elders tell the woman no, what is the next thing she's going to do? She's going to go to Big Daddy State.
The husband is not is in this is why when I was on Pearl's show, I said modern marriage doesn't exist once she decides to reject your authority. When she
Yeah.
decides to
So-
one person decides to step out, it doesn't exist. Therefore, modern marriage is not, you don't have traditional marriage. You
And
don't have it
let-
today,
let-
guys.
Okay, let me pull together what Nick just said, what Leroy's question about Islam, and what Chief said. It all relates to authority. So go back to Genesis. God created Adam and gave him dominion. Adam named the animals. Adam had dominion, he had authority. Did Adam have authority because he was sinless? Well, he was.
But no.
Because he served God? Well, he was. But no, that's why God created him. Adam was not Christian at that time. Christ had not been born. So the point is, man was created with authority and dominion. That relates to the man, and because you were born, you have it. You don't have to be Islamic or Christian or have any faith to have the authority. You were born with it. So, Islam, when we say, oh, their women are more well behaved, man, maybe a man is looking to the power of religion to keep his woman in line. Well, that could be helpful, but really, a man has the authority.
And if
And
anyone's ever been
it's-
around a Persian woman, you'll know that it's a bit of a stretch in
Now,
reality.
everything is, yes, it's against a man using that authority. Authority does not mean the use of force. It just means you have it. You have to understand you have it. And you don't really need the world supporting you in that. Doesn't mean you'll successfully do it. But you can have that same authority in the church. And the women, the Christian women, and as Plutarch said, the Muslim women are the same nature underneath.
Correct.
And so when you're looking to an external entity or organization to affirm your authority, it can help. Certainly it can help. But you're not getting your authority from being Islamic or from being Christian. The authority, if you're a man, you were born with it. Even if you're secular.
Yep. It's universal. It's your nature. So we had this. I'm going to address this. He gives us. We had an episode called "The Natural Law" and and it dealt with father custody. The whole point is it's natural. The family is a natural institution, and by virtue of creation of man's nature, the husband is the head of the household and has authority. The church and the state, especially the modern state, and in many churches, are actual tyrants and usurpers of the sphere and authority of the husband. They overstep their bounds. They are tyrants, and you should tell them to pound sand. They are evil when they usurp the authority of the husband. Now, there's extreme cases historically where the church or the state has to get involved, but not over fucking mustache, not over, some minor thing, but usually when somebody's life is in actual fucking danger, or there's adultery or something like that. Extreme cases, guys. Not, I don't feel safe. Oh, he's dangerous. Oh, my feelings are hurt. Oh, financial abuse. Get the fuck out of here with that shit, you fucking tyrants.
Let me say
and-
something about this. Why doesn't Christianity give authority of men over women? Not for Christianity to give. It's already been given by God. The Christian church, the Islamic religion, there is no other authority to give man that which he already has.
It's kind of like the people misunderstanding the Constitution. People say, "Oh, the Constitution gives me the right to free speech." No. You had the right to free speech. The Constitution is a restraint against the government. And Tacticus has a comment here that I think he calls it the Gurch. The church will hire Balaam to create doctrines that tickle female ears. Right. Because
shit.
It's what Nick was saying. The church and the state are in cahoots to usurp your natural power, just like the church would love to usurp your natural right to free speech, just like the church would love to, or the state would love to usurp your natural right to self-defense. You have a natural right to these things. They can't take them from you unless you give it to them. And so they're desperate for you to give it to them. So don't. But and in this context, not giving it to them means something in the red pill space that we call frame control.
So
Don't give them your
you're
frame.
saying an inalienable right cannot be given to me?
Correct. You were born with it.
The whole point. It's natural, right?
Yeah, you were born with it.
See, we're giving civics lessons here too.
It's going to be a long stream tonight, guys. We're already at 2 hours, and I don't think Nick is done yet.
I'm pretty much. I've gone through pretty much everything I need to go through. I think maybe most of my points. But
I want to say our commenters tonight
on fire.
We don't have a lot of commenters, but damn, they're on target. They're engaging. They're
thinking,
learning from this, and they're putting in good comments, and I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah, Shaw had a good comment too. Yeah, the church and the state, though. So the real issue is the state's meddling in the family. And the church, instead of confronting the tyrants like they've historically done, they play along like fucking effeminate cowards. Like when I got put in jail, what the fuck did they do? When I went through shit and asked for help, what did I get? Bullshit. Blame. Fuck you guys. You pieces of shit. You let my family be destroyed and you didn't help me. You threw me under the bus. Fuck you, you cocksuckers.
Well, in a broader sense, what you're getting at is the church is complicit in the destruction of families, and then turns around and wonder why men don't want to create families. Duh.
Hey, Nick, were you actually arrested inside your church?
Yes, I was arrested 3 times. First time was
No.
the false arrest. Second time was I was served something out of state, hadn't seen it, and I tried to talk to the ex's church and get the elders involved to solve the solution. Got arrested for that in Louisiana. They threw it out, of
Yes.
course. Then I got
My
arrested again for
question.
publicly defying the fucking Jezebel judge. 2 weeks in jail.
Okay, my question was, were you actually arrested on church property?
Yes.
Oh,
I had lasers on
many
my
other-
chest and I thought I was going to die. That's my first video on my own YouTube channel, if you all want to check it out.
how many other men have you met that have been arrested on church property?
Only you, Steve.
That's what I thought. Man, Nick, no wonder
And
I get along with
isn't
you.
the Catholic
because
Church separate
you are-
property from the United States? Isn't Catholic Church property
No.
separate church property
No.
than the United States property? No.
The church,
Not
the
in
churches
the
are.
U.S.
Yeah.
No,
Oh.
maybe in other places. Yeah, well, if I was in the Vatican, well, yeah. But no, it's just interesting that the state prevails over the churches, and a woman's feelings give the state permission to come in and arrest a man even on church property, which is supposedly about peace. Yeah, come on. I'm in the church. Am I posing any threat to anybody? No. There's no need for weapons in the church. I don't care if you're law enforcement. There's no need for handcuffs. How about we just sit down and talk about it? This is a place of peace. Nope. The state prevails and the woman's opinion prevails in church. But, maybe that's why Nick and I get along so well, because we're both scary men.
Leroy, just to quickly
Well-
answer your question, is Islam the way? No, not any more than
Oh,
the
Jesus
church
is the way. I
Yeah,
am the way, the truth, and the light. There's no way to the Father except through me, says Jesus. Yeah, we're Christians. What do you expect us to say?
Well, but even then,
Yeah.
what we just got done saying is that the church, little C church and big C church, the Islamic church here has no more power than the Christian church does. And you're just going to be under a hell of a lot more gov surveillance. So, okay. No, it's not. See, that's the lie that it tells it. I'll pull this up. It's saying Islam is greater than police. No, it's not. And that's the lie that it tells itself, particularly here in this country. Try it in this country. Try it. Islam can only be greater than police in a country that has Sharia as a core fundamental law of its secular institutions. The reality is here, you try it, you'll just get shot.
Which Islam?
Yeah, there's that too. Let's see. We've got the two big ones are Sunni?
Sunni?
And Shia.
Shia?
There's the Druzes too. There's Druze as well, right?
Oh, you've got
No.
the
Yeah.
There's so many. And then what flavor are you going to have in your country?
yeah.
Oh, wait. Move to Afghanistan. You can have the Taliban.
Right.
You know what? I think Iran is probably a pretty easygoing, livable country. Oh, but you could go into Syria. Yeah, the factions are fighting there. That's not so great.
It's about 70 different factions, by the way. So it
Although,
Yeah, which flavor are you going to adhere to?
Indonesia is the biggest Muslim country, then India is actually Islam is the minority religion in India, but they've got was it the second largest or first largest?
Yeah.
Think about it this way, Nick. Pakistan did not exist until British gave up India, because Pakistan was the Islamic part of India, and
Except for like the
India was the
central
Hindu
part of
part.
India. But yeah.
So Pakistanis and Indian, pretty much the same people with a different religion.
Well, right, Leroy. Yeah, in the Middle East. So go live in Saudi Arabia and go live with the Wahhabis. I mean, like you can, but you have to go there to get it. It's not coming here, and I don't really want it to come here because there's a whole lot of problems with what they preach too. Like a whole lot. Yeah, okay, they might appear to have their family life, although I can tell you from the stories my dad has told. Now he lived in Iran for years. Those women were vicious battle axes. Like you think it's bad here, and these women were conniving because they under. Let's say you're an Islamic convert and you go to a place like Saudi Arabia. These women have all of the Islamic law in their heads, and the moment that they can use that against you, they will, and there will be absolutely nothing you can do about it.
Think about this. The less power or overt equality a woman has, the more she has to go to subversive and manipulative means to get her way.
Yes, absolutely.
So, okay, yes, we can restrict women's rights. Great. Does that mean women don't want control or influence? Hell no.
No, it's still there.
You
It's been
close
there. It's
that
been there since
avenue, they
been
will
there since
find
Genesis
another
3.
more subtle,
Right.
manipulative way to get their way. Women always want their way.
Right. And because it goes back to, as Nick said, Genesis 3, women are always going to be looking for a way out. And when you go to a country and you go live there and you don't understand the laws, you are setting yourself up to be used because she will always be better at it than you are. Always. She grew up there.
Well,
Tacticus?
and you know what? Even if she doesn't grow up there, there's one thing a woman will think in the future about: planning a way through it, mapping it out, because she wants to control. And she'll spring it on you, and you will not have a chance to think through it before you are forced to respond to her. So, in those times when she wants something, you're always at a disadvantage. And your logic in that case will not save you because you don't have time to think about it.
And Tacticus brought up a question here that I think has a good red pill answer. What the quality of marriage is produced by external locus of control versus internal locus of control. And what he's talking about here is basically, is the woman subject to some sort of external restraint, or is the restraint on myself as the man? And the red pill actually has an answer for you. And the answer is you will have a better quality of any relationship via internal locus of control. That's on her part and your part, because an external locus is a restraint on their behavior, but it's one that they chafe against, that they rebel against. We were talking about earlier in this stream about, a father creates a disciplined woman in the first 6 years of her life. She will have an internal locus of control, and you will, if you have been raised the same way, you will have an internal locus of control. This locus of control, by the way, another term for it is frame control. You will always do better with frame and women than you will with somebody else trying to impose your frame on a woman for you. Weak men ask a strong man to impose their will on somebody else.
It's not to say that it is a valid argument to have external consequences. Well, I think the history of the world has shown that, but that shouldn't, that, that's not, I would say it helps, so you don't get completely wrecked if the other side decides to step out, because sometimes, look, they have
Yeah.
agency.
Yeah.
It'll help, but at the same time, you need to be that yourself so that she does respect you, but also you want her to grow up under that, so that also that she, when you have that relationship, she'll also have that context and background, where she understands what it is to respect a man, be a good wife, et cetera, et cetera. Like, here, look, he's saying this. You guys acknowledge the police state's worse than a religious state. Actually, I think I'm for a religious state. I just don't think that. I think it's, yeah, internal, like, so, yeah, internal locus of control does trump external, I think, but I also think you should also have external.
Well,
I
what
don't
the
think
the
they're I don't
external
think they're contrary to one another.
they're not. But the
And by the
external
way, I think that the Ten Commandments is a good, and the civil magistrate employing the Ten Commandments is valid and has been shown throughout history.
right. What I think I'm getting at with this is because he was talking about quality of relationship, is the external controls need to exist for when things go really wrong. Okay.
Right.
We have to acknowledge that some men really do abuse the hell out of their women, and the state
You
is
do.
needed to step in for that.
In
We need to
extreme cases.
Right. We need to acknowledge that women have just as terrible demonic behavior, and sometimes the state should be stepping in when the man,
Right.
if the woman's behavior is such that restraining it would result in him putting her life in danger, that's, there should be, but these are in extremis scenarios. The state is there to put bounds on what cannot be bounded within the relationship. And Shaw, yes.
No,
you
the
are-
state. Let me clarify. The laws are the laws. They don't need to be married specific or gender specific.
correct.
And you know what? Ending someone else's life. There's a law against that, and you can be
Yep.
prosecuted. Now, let's make it worse. Let's make it a hate crime. What?
We've already ended the guy's
Who the hell cares? It's already against the law.
Yeah.
Okay. Doing harm to your wife. Let's make that worse. Gee, we don't need to, because doing harm to another person, it's already illegal. You don't need to make special cases. The law is the law.
And I think that's what Shaw is saying here. It seems that here the locus or the external locus of control exists for men, but not for women currently. Yes, absolutely agree. External control is important, but should be equally applied to both genders. Right. That's the concept of equal under the law. Like, these concepts have been in English common law for centuries. They're well established as to what they are and why they need to exist. We're choosing not to, because as a culture, we've decided that we need to elevate women above men. And in order to do that, we actually have to reinterpret hundreds of years of very well adjudicated law. And so, but again, this is what we're saying is if you want a good, high quality relationship, you're not going to have it without frame. Okay. I'm sorry. It's without frame. You will not have a good relationship.
It has to come from the man. Now,
Yes.
it's very beneficial if society supports you. And that might be the state. But you do not want to put the state in a position of authority over the man in his governance of his family affairs. They are a support function.
Yes.
And if
support
you're
functions.
looking for the state to enforce your authority over your wife, you're actually putting someone else in authority over you and your family.
Well, I would say
Because
that
yeah,
I would say that men who look to the state to impose their authority over their women are weak men. You are the weakest kind of man.
Well, look. In extreme cases, even the Bible, look at the Pentateuch, or Torah. Men were not just able to, if they were caught them cheating, just to do with whatever they wanted. No, they had to bring them before the elders, the civil magistrate, a religious state, a religious police, right? And that's generally what police were throughout, Western Christendom. Look, you didn't have it under your authority to beat your wife. You didn't have it under your authority
Mm-hmm.
to execute your wife.
Correct.
No, that belongs to the state. It always
Correct.
has.
Yes. And there's a good reason for that. There absolutely does need to be some external guardrails on human behavior, because humans can be pretty shitty to each other. But if you're advocating for a state where the state imposes your authority for you, you're giving up your authority to the state, and you're doing so because you're a weak man who doesn't want to go to the effort of actually having to do it yourself.
We've kind of implied Muslims can be very shitty to each other and to others. Hey, Christians can be very shitty to each other and to others. The Jews, yeah, applies there. Oh, the secularists, yeah, it applies there. Okay, so you know what? We have friends and people who watch our channel who are Islamic. Okay, great. Follow your heart, but don't choose Islam because it'll help you control your woman.
Yeah.
Do it.
Don't.
Because that's what you believe. Do it for a thoughtful process that's larger than that. If you want to become Christian, do that. I'm Catholic. These two guys are Protestant. We have different beliefs. I'm not going to change to their belief. They're not going to change to mine. We respect each other. We respect smart guys who are not Christian. We respect people who are Islamic. You come here in good faith. Hey, we're all about the dialogue and exploring concepts. And yeah, we explore it from, we have a Christian perspective. I have a Catholic perspective. They have a Protestant perspective, but they're often what we talk about. We don't even cross swords on that because they're so damn similar. And I would think for the Islamic people who may stumble across our channel, yeah, we're probably not going to say too much you disagree with either. So, let's all pursue the truth together.
Absolutely. And we can do that without having to cross swords over religion. That's part of what we do here. But also, do be prepared for us to challenge you. One of the things that I love to say about what we do here is we are not here to tell you how to think or what to think. We're here to give you things to think about. You're going to have to take this and you're going to have to plug this into your own faith. Yeah, we've got the papist up there, and he'll give you a slightly different view of things than us heretical prophets or us
I'm an
heretical
iconoclast. Okay, guys.
Yeah. Us, heretical Protestants down here, but there's a lot, I think. If you actually go study Islam, there's a bunch of it that's rooted in the Abrahamic faith, in the Abrahamic religions. So, again, not all of it. I understand that, but like they talk about the Bible as being and Christians as being people of the book. They're referring to the Christian Bible, particularly the Old Testament. I think I am not an Islamic scholar.
Let's talk about the Injil as well, the Gospels and stuff like that.
So we don't have to sit here and disagree on everything. Although I am going to take the stance that if your view of the religion is, well, it seems to control the women, I would kind of argue that you're really trying to say that this religion should do it for me. Nope.
And won't
Yeah.
send you to a
That's
contentious
weak shit.
in
woman.
Christianity,
Read the
yes.
book of Proverbs.
Man,
Book of Proverbs.
The man-
Contentious woman.
Yeah.
the
Where'd
man
that
to
come
look,
from?
the Christian man that looked to the church to help control their women. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Men, if you look to the Christian church to control your woman, you are lost. And we will pick up the pieces when you come through the divorce courts. We'll be here. We will.
You can't control them. They're malleable, but you can't control them.
I don't really think it's any better in the Islamic world. I have no experience. I have no knowledge. I might be wrong. Basically talking out of my ass on that one.
My experience is secondhand. I didn't live there, but my dad did. I heard the stories. It is not a lot of what people think about Islam is actually Iranian propaganda, driven through botnets on Twitter. One of these days, I'm probably going to have to do a stream on how all this works. I explained it to Nick recently, but it like a lot of what you guys think these things are is people it's marketing. They're trying to present their best arguments for why you should buy their shit. So I don't know. I look at what we do, pointing back to the church and saying, look, guys, you're fucking up by the numbers. Really is us trying to be honest. And we're not marketing. We're not propagandizing the church over here. We're not doing any hagiography either of now. I do like a lot of what Joel Webbin says. I think a lot of what he says is very carefully thought out, scripturally minded work. But even Steve would have disagreements because he's one of those damn heathen Protestants. But we're not here because we're trying to give you some rosy picture. I mean, this whole stream has been us kind of pointing at the church going, you heretical fools. How could you? And then you want to turn around and wonder why the men aren't showing up. We have been telling you.
Tried.
Well, we're not even here to convert anybody to Christianity. We're here to talk about these issues and make you think. What we say makes sense. Do your own research. It'll lead you wherever God leads you. Your salvation is up to you and to God. I'm just out here talking about stuff I like to talk about, revealing truth, gaining insight myself. Okay, let God do what God does with what I put out there.
And Tacticus, yeah, I agree. Nobody wants in any religion or state in the bedroom to make some people do, obviously. But and yes, these external factors, they do affect the outcomes. And that's part of what we're railing against here today is we know it's not the only reason. One of the reasons that Doug Wilson is out doing what he's doing is precisely so that he can appease the external factors and make them not hate him. I mean, Doug Wilson has got in trouble for preaching theonomy and Christian nationalism. And okay. And he got into trouble for that. Okay. And we actually don't disagree with those things. But why is he doing this and why now? Oh, because somebody and
He's always done this. as
Right.
Dalrock said
Right.
back in
You know,
2018.
so with any teacher, remember that they're human. So you take the parts you can work with. You take the parts that you can point back to scripture and say, "Yep,
2018.
there it is." Right? But this is why I think the language lawyering that I talked about earlier is so dangerous and so corrosive to the church, because I can sit here and come up with a convoluted, sophistic explanation for why despot means that the woman should be a tyrant in the house. But if you look at the rest of the Bible, it's not supported by it. So you're relying on the
Oh.
translation of one word in a modern context to create an entire theory. Or you read the Bible and go, that's shit, and you move on. Or as I said, that's holy shit, and you move on.
All right, let's kind of sum this up. Reporting leaders, the husband is the leader, right? The women don't like the hierarchy. They want to rebel. But why do they want to rebel? Because Team Woman and feminism, the genocracy. Well, why do they want to rebel against their man in the first place? Why are they on Team Woman's side? Well, maybe they don't respect the man, have not been taught to respect the man. They're consensus driven. They're not about her man. They're not on Team Her Man. They're on Team Woman. Therefore, they're full of contempt and rebellion against man. So they're going to go appeal to Team Woman and their simps, the white knights in the church and government, to overthrow man. Because the church and the government hate husbands. They hate fathers. They hate the foundation of authority that could actually challenge their corrupt bullshit. So, yeah, Doug Wilson, Dalrock pointed out way back then, they have women as tyrants in homes. Hey, you say something now that's not on board with some extra biblical criteria, that you don't agree with some history. Oh, that's grounds to throw your husband on the bus. Oh, head coverings, throw him under the bus. Oh, you want to move to get away, throw him under the bus. Rebellious women. It's a reason to excuse contemptuous women. Women filled with contempt against their husband, rebellious women full of feminism, vile women that hate their husbands. And therefore, they actually destroy, even though Doug's all about fathers and all this other crap, actually, he's furthering the destruction of the foundational unit of society and furthering the feminist message.
Well, yeah. Yeah, most of that I agree with. Every woman is going to test her man. It's called a shit test.
True.
So just because she tests you does not make her a bad woman. What women do. You got the
Elena
authority.
does it.
And it's a shit test. Use frame control and manage your wife. Don't look to external forces to manage her for you. Don't look to appease her or appeal to the sisterhood. Oh, yes, I'm the simp auxiliary of ladies of Team Woman. So yeah, I'm a good guy. Yes, spread your legs for me. No, you know what? Just be the man and look for support where you can. But if there is no support, you're gonna have to stand alone. Doesn't mean being mean or a malevolent leader. You can be a benevolent king who looks out for the best interests of your subjects. And yes, your wife is your subject, your children are your subject. And when we had this different style of government. People understood this. The king wasn't the tyrant. But in the modern democracy, we think, oh, he's an evil dictator. You know what? Dictators have regimes. You ever hear about the U.S. regime? Oh, no, we don't have a regime here. It's only the Iraqi regime. When they use the word regime, it means like an evil government.
Hmm.
I mean, it's like code words to make you hate them. You realize propaganda's all around us. But just be the decent man. Recognize you have the authority and use it wisely.
Oh, is that all, Steve?
Don't tolerate the use. You don't tolerate her destroying your public image and going around your back betraying you to the elders in the state or the pastor. And don't let them usurp your authority. Don't put yourself under that thumb. Make them point to scripture and not some modern simp explanation or feminist explanation of the last 100 years to justify their opinions and rulings.
So Nick, I have a question for you. Kind of a practical applications thing. If this does happen to a man, as Doug Wilson is saying it should, what would you recommend that guy do? Should he, I don't know,
Tell them to pound sand.
okay. And if that doesn't, like, okay, is there a justification for him leaving the church? If
Yeah.
okay, it's you know, it's
Well,
like, okay, guys, what can you do when because this is going to happen to more guys.
Look, guys. Again, I'm going to bring this up. How the hell is an unbeliever? Okay, I'm going to zoom this in. I'm going to make this point. I'm going to end it with scripture right here. They may be won by the conversation of the wise. Their behavior. They're not obeying the word, the gospel. They're not believers, right? But they're to be won by the chaste converse behavior of their wives, their submission, right? That's how they're to be in subjection to their husbands. Even as Sarah obeyed Abraham, calling him Lord, whose daughters you are, as long as you do well, are not afraid with any amazement. How the hell are unbelieving husbands afforded more respect if they're not Christian, right? Than believing husbands? You have a fucking problem, church. It's better to be a non-Christian in your simp system, you idiots. You fucking morons. You swindlers.
Okay.
You're wrecking marriages. No. That's
Let
how
me
you do it.
point
but you
out
tell them to
something
pound
here, Nick.
sand.
We're Protestants. Not sure if it's the Protestant the foundations of Protestantism, but it's Protestant belief that's the problem here. Protestants tend to believe their authority comes from the Bible. Bullshit. And they accuse Catholics, oh, you just listen to the church, so the church is your authority. Bullshit. The authority comes from God. A man's authority comes directly from God.
It's natural. It's natural
It's
authority.
natural.
Therefore, it's divine.
Okay, it is affirmed by the Bible, and it's affirmed by the church. So everything we've talked about today is an appeal to authority. When a woman steps out from under her husband and reports him to the elders or the priest, she's appealing to a greater authority. When a man looks to the church or the state or Islam or, some outside thing, it's an appeal to authority to control his situation. Ultimately, everything comes down to no, a man has the authority. Now, yes, we have to be law abiding. Yes, we have to understand our current culture and what we can do within that. And it makes it extremely difficult. Cutting off the finances from your wife is financial abuse. Yelling at her is emotional abuse. While she's beating you, and I know this from personal experience, while she's slapping you and scratching you, if you have your hands by your side, but you happen to have your fists clenched, your hands closed like this, oh, that is threatening. So that's physical abuse. Okay, yes, anything can be contrived against you, and it will be. But all these things do not change the fact that you still have the authority. You may have a lot of constraints on your authority. It may require a lot greater wisdom to use your authority. But remember this, it's all an attack on your authority. So many times you don't have to do anything. You just have to stand firm. And what's that word you use, Plutarch? That 2-letter word?
No.
Oh, yes. Just say no.
So Tacticus put a comment in here that this one just got me a little bit of. I had a good laugh at this one. You know, talk about sola fide, sola scripture, all those sola tithia, church for the sake of ties. And honestly, there's a lot of churches out there like that. It got a good belly laugh because it's funny, but it's also true. There's another one from Leroy here. Church police greater than God. Yeah, I actually do believe that men fear the police more than God these days. It's nominally, sadly true. I mean, otherwise you wouldn't have these men out here behaving in the church, behaving like weak men. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of what we're talking about today. Don't be that guy.
Yes. Okay. There's another good insight. Women value their reputation more than the rules or what God thinks.
Oh, yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Realize that. Reputation is everything. She did salvation, her eternal soul, that's future. How do people think about her today?
Which, Steve, actually, it is, I believe that's one of the reasons why it is put upon men to be responsible for the spiritual health of their family. The women won't do it. They will sacrifice the future for today for exactly this reason that you just articulated. Those consequences of my sins, those eternal consequences, yeah, that's for after I die. Right now, I want to ride the carousel for everything I can get out of it.
And you should not be allowed to make me feel guilty about it.
Yeah. Well,
we've been ranting for a long time tonight.
I knew this was going to be a long one.
I thought Nick was going to be the one that went on the rants tonight. It was more me, I guess.
Well, I had a few.
Yeah, we promised.
I knew a lot of us could rant on this topic, so.
Yeah, well, but we promised spicy Nick, and what we got was spicy Steve.
That was pretty spicy. But yeah, we got spicy Steve too. It's
Yeah.
nice.
Not Nick. You did great. You did great.
Well, what do we got going on next, guys? Anybody know?
We don't have a plan yet.
No, not yet.
Who's got Monday?
Don't know yet.
Probably me. We'll see.
Okay, so guys, thanks for checking us out. Please like and subscribe. Please share this video to all your church friends.
Please do.
Please send it out to the church harpies. I love their comments. Please comment. And yes, you feminist ladies, please show me your hate. It's so
Hey.
great. It's so fulfilling. Oh, and tune in Monday for another episode of Exposing the Narrative at 7:45 Central. Oh, also,
Hey,
Elena, Plutarch's wife says, join us Saturday at 9:15 Pacific time. We'll have some fun.
I do
so
believe
if
I will be
any of our
showing up on Saturday.
commenters, if any of our commenters, we don't have a lot. If any of you guys want to come on and participate, hey, great. We'll invite you on.
Yeah, and I want to give a shout out to the chat tonight. You guys brought your A game tonight. I think probably a third of the stream was dedicated to just reacting to your guys' comments and answering questions, and this was great. You guys brought the heat. You brought your A game. Yeah, we couldn't put them all up there, but we around here we try to actually give thought out answers, which means we might take a little longer to articulate ourselves. So yeah, it was I salute you guys. It was a lot of fun tonight. And yeah, as Nick says, share this with your church friends. They need to hear this. All right. We will
See you guys next time.
Yep. See you Monday.
Bye.